Section E, essay type 10, and this is the last essay type in your section E. And everything we have so far been calculating is given. NPV is given for all these three projects. Payback is given. So I think we have very little to do in this essay type. Encino or Encino, whatever the way you want to pronounce it, it's a company, a diversified manufacturer, is considering three potential projects. To evaluate capital projects, the finance department uses the net present value method and the payback period method. The company has a hurdle rate of 13%. Capital projects are acceptable under the payback period of if the initial investment is recouped or recovered in 3 years. That's the cutoff date. Within 3 years, the projects will have to pay themselves off. For the upcoming fiscal year, the board of directors has approved a capital projects budget of up to $8 million. This is our upper ceiling. We have to make use of this budget, not more, as far the information goes. Data on the various projects under considerations are shown below. Initial outlay for project 1, 2 and 3 is given. Annual cash flows, and we have also been given the net present value, which is quite helpful. First project is giving negative NPV, means this project is generating less than 30% of return. Project 2 is giving quite a sizable NPV, $665,000, and project 3 is giving an intermediate return of $251,000. Payback is 3, almost what we expect, less than 3, and again less than 3. So this is the case study. First question: identify and explain 2 advantages and 2 disadvantages of using payback period method and net present value method. So basically he has asked you to give advantages and disadvantages of both NPV and payback. So I will just list the ideas down here. First let's write payback and then NPV. In the same sequence he has asked you. Positives and negatives, positives and negatives. Payback method, it's easy. To some extent it measures the risk in the project, because the project that takes longer time to pay you off is riskier. The project that pays you off quickly, it has less risk. So it also helps you assess risk in the project, right? What are the drawbacks? It ignores time value of money. It ignores all the cash flows coming after 3 years, because payback focuses only on the 3 years period. That is the time given by the management. That's the drawback. Maybe there could be sizable inflows in year 5, 6 and 7. Unfortunately, they're all ignored under the payback method. What about NPV? The positive or advantage of NPV, it considers time value of money. It is considered to be the superior and widely used method of project evaluation. It focuses on cash flows. What are the drawbacks? NPV is highly sensitive to the discount factor. Any change in discount factor can seriously swing the NPV from up to down, from down to up. Moreover, it's complex. It's the complex amongst all, and that's all. 2 advantages and 2 disadvantages each of payback method and net present value method. You can give your responses in this way and you're good to go. Next, which project should Encino select based on the payback period method, and explain your answer. Going back to the case study, since we have this budget, which means we can either take project 1, 2 or 3. We should not take project 1 because it is giving you negative NPV and payback is highest in all these 3 projects. Now selecting between 2 and 3, I have this much constraint. Comparing project 2 and 3, project 2 is giving the highest NPV, so we must invest and we should take on project 2 because it's giving you the highest NPV and its payback is the shortest. If you just focus on payback, from payback point of view, it is the best. From NPV point of view, it is the best. So this project is the best amongst all 3. So our recommendation would be project 2. Project 2, that's your. So which project should Encino select based on the payback period? Of course, 2.68, less than 3 years. So we will go for project 2. 3 is taking little more, but NPV is lower. So since project 2 is taking less time to pay itself off, investment would be recouped earlier, so we go for project 2. Next, which project should Encino select based upon the net present value calculations? And you can see right here, project 2 is giving you the highest NPV amongst all, so we will go for project 2. Within this budget, we can take on project 2, and that would be your answer, right? Within a budget of 8 million, the company should select project 2 under the NPV method because NPV is positive and it is higher than, or I would say highest amongst all. Next, assume board of directors revise the capital budget upward to $10 million. Which projects or project should the company select based upon payback period method, and which project should the company select based upon the net present value method? Explain your answer. No computations are needed because he has done everything for you. You just have to write up and see the information and just type it in. If the budget is increased from 8 million to $10 million, we can take both of these projects. See, within 10 million, both of these projects can be taken. From payback point of view, both of these projects are desirable. And even from NPV point of view, both of these projects are desirable. So since they are independent projects apparently, because there is no further information given, then we can take on, if they were mutually exclusive, we could have only taken either 2 or 3. Since the budget has been increased and they are independent projects, so we can take both of these within the budget constraint. Within the budget, both of them are acceptable from payback point of view as well as the net present value method. So we will select both of these, right? Within the budget of 10 million, the company should select both projects 2 and 3. Both are paying off under 3 years, and NPV for both of these projects is positive and quite sizable. Then next question, we have done this question repeatedly in many of our previous essay types. Define sensitivity analysis and explain how management could use sensitivity analysis in its capital budgeting process. Sensitivity analysis is basically a what-if technique. We change our variables that make up the overall components or various components of project. Changing these variables will impact the NPV. Which of these factors can cause the greatest swing in NPV? Our project would be most sensitive to that variable. Could be labor cost, material cost, tax rates, depreciation, etc., etc. So sensitivity analysis, it's a what-if analysis, a what-if technique to examine how results will change if the predicted financial outcomes are not achieved or if the underlying assumptions change, underlying variables that determine the NPV of the project. So management could use sensitivity in the estimate of the initial investment by assuming the project's delayed and incur more cost or any other variables. You can change the variable up and downwards, and you can see the impact of all these variables changing simultaneously by incorporating the numbers in a computer simulation, and the impact of the changing variables upon the NPV can be seen in the real time in the computer analysis. So you can use sensitive analysis in any way. Delay the project, increase the variable or decrease the variable, and see how they affect the NPV of the project. On any line you can explain the idea. Then discuss 2 qualitative factors that Encino should consider when making capital budgeting decision. Qualitative factors. NPV, IRR, payback, all these are qualitative, quantitative numbers. Quantitative measures. We can use some qualitative factors in determining the desirability of the project. It involves impact on environment. Let's highlight the point that you can include in your response. Impact upon the environment, because later on if the impact on environment is not considered, later on it could result in penalties for the firm. Job opportunities created in the locality where the project is being run, and whether this project has a strategic fit with our overall goals. Any project we take should have a strategic fit with our long-term objectives. Otherwise, unnecessarily taking on projects which will not add value will only add burden to the management efforts. So that is all. These lines you can just explain the idea and get the full credit. As is over.